the whole point of us being in event planning is to create a great experience.
Yeah.
So if you don't care about that, to me, it's like you're in the wrong business. We took all the good parts and created our company, and we're based out of, honesty and like integrity. I heard it.
Yeah. All right, take a sip.
We took the leap, we launched it, and that festival was successful on year one, which is unheard of. 15,000 people profitable.
Here we are again, Stay Classy podcast. Thanks so much for coming on. We have Kristy Rumsey on today. Kristy is the director of Parq Nightclub in San Diego. We're going to get into quite a few topics today concerning nightlife and Kristy's life outside of nightlife as well. But first of all, one thing that we were talking about before we started recording here today was this crazy story that you have of how you were at Parq, and Nicki Minaj was the performer, correct?
Correct.
And you were on stage with her, and something transpired, and do you want to tell us about that? Because I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, so part of my job is to coordinate when our artists are there, make sure the DJ knows that they're coming up, security's prepared, you know what I mean? So we bring Nicki up, she's coming through the back entrance, coming upstairs, she's with our owner, everything his wife, and we've got the section cleared. I'm standing there clearly, headset, radio on, clearly working, and she literally went to her security. I was like, get her off the stage, and kicked me off right away. And I was like, I'm working. I'm not doing it. And I'm standing like a ninja. You know what I mean? Like off to the side.
She just didn't know that you were working
I didn't know
there?
she didn't know.
Thought they were right in person.
Yeah, I think she thought maybe I was just like a groupie or something, and didn't want me on the stage. And literally, I'm like, I'm just trying to do my job.
And you were director at that point, too, right?
Yeah,
so you're like, I'm the director.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. And I was just like, I know when, you know what I mean, to not cause a scene, not cause drama.
So you just
I just let out the other side, but I was like, oh my gosh.
Kind of sucks.
Yeah, and now of course I won't even listen to her music. I'm like, she's mean.
Every time she comes on, you're like, nope.
Yeah, I'm like, no, absolutely not.
When was this? Was
this would have been 2016.
2016. Oh, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then fast forward the opposite, we had Cardi B, and she was phenomenal, was so nice, and was like, girl.
So you had Cardi standing out.
Yeah, and she was so amazing to me and all our staff, and so I'm like, so if you put one against the other, I'm Team Cardi.
Nowadays it's like Team Cardi or Team Nicki. You got to take a side.
Yeah, I took a side.
I'm Team Cardi too, for the record.
Perfect.
Hope that doesn't push off a bunch of our viewers. But anyways, yeah. So no, that story was really funny because I feel like the thing is with Parq is obviously there's all these cool performers, and I've gotten to the Parq as a customer for years. But in your position, getting to meet people behind the scenes and seeing their process and seeing the process of a performance, that's incredible. Do you is there anybody else that stands out in your mind in maybe in a more positive way of a performer where you're just blown away by how cool they were, or just how great of a performance it was? Does anybody stand out?
Yeah, I have two. As far as performance, 50 Cent. Hands down.
Okay.
And
he came pretty recently, right?
Yeah. We've had him quite a few times actually, and he's so professional. He knows how to entertain his customers. You know what I mean? Some people are like, I'm just contracted to do this, and they only do that.
Yeah.
He comes and he is there to absolutely perform for his client or for his fans, and I love that. But as far as just being down to earth, fun, super interactive with the staff, I would say G-Eazy.
G-Eazy?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And he. Was it a year ago? When did he come? He was here pretty recently.
Yeah, so we've had them both within the last year.
Oh, within the last year. Okay, yeah. Now, I also wanted to ask you for the performances that have happened at Parq. Do you is there maybe a time where a performer there was a challenge that came up, something last minute that didn't go according to plan, and how you responded to that? Do you have any stories like that?
I sure do. So probably one of the biggest artists we've ever booked was Lil Wayne.
Okay.
And everybody was excited. I mean, we were sold out in advance. Tables are just going off. Everything is, you know what I mean? The whole venue is pumping, right?
Yeah.
So it's we've got all these athletes in. We've got, our top customers, our best clientele. And, the performers, they tend to come later and they hang out and they're, you know what I mean, just having a good time before they get the mood to go up and perform.
Sure.
So Lil Wayne comes in late, you know what I mean? He goes up to the stage tables where we always put our performers, sits down, rolls a blunt. I won't say that.
Yeah.
And then he goes, literally smokes, got mad at something, and walked off the stage and down to his car and left.
Oh, my God.
So all the managers, all the staff were just
yikes.
like staring at each other, like, what do we
Just
do?
like aghast. Like,
Because I mean, ticket sales are up, the bottle minimums are higher, so it's like we have to pay for that performer, so we raise the value of the real estate and the ticket price. So everybody's paid a premium to be there, waiting for him to go on.
And how close was this to like actual stage time?
Oh, 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
And he literally walked
Just
off the
left.
stage, went downstairs, got
What did
into
you
his
get
car,
mad
and
about,
left.
Or no idea?
Somebody accessed the stage that he didn't want, and it was somebody his managers knew, something of the sort.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I walked out.
Did you guys get him back, or what happened?
No, we had to foot the bill. We had to comp a bunch of stuff, deal with
Oh my
horrible
God.
Yelp reviews, like screaming customers. And I was just
Nightmare.
like, there's nothing I can do. Like,
Nightmare.
I'm sorry Lil Wayne got mad.
So in other words, you're not a Nicki fan. I'm guessing you're not a Lil Wayne fan either.
Yeah, I
at this
mean,
point.
that wasn't personal.
No, that's pretty shitty.
So, you know what I mean? I know, understand business,
Yeah.
and business is business, but no, Nicki was personal.
Oh man. Well, but you like Cardi, you like Jeezy, you like
Yeah.
50 Cent.
Yeah.
And I feel like from what I've heard, I mean, you already mentioned it, like sort of like Cardi B, like her personality just like so huge, like she's so bubbly, so energetic. Like at least like that's the sort of image she portrays like on screen. Like behind the scenes, is she like that too?
Exactly the same.
Okay.
And this was kind of right when her first hit had gone off, and it was like we had got her early on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And instead of doing, she did her song, or I forget the name of it, but she's,
Yellow, or-
yes, that's the one. And she stayed up on the go-go boxes singing other songs along with the DJ and was just vibing. Like, I'll send you guys some pictures.
Yeah,
But it
no,
was
please
one
do.
of the best nights.
I love that. I love that.
Enjoying this episode? Subscribe for more content on finding your own path to success. Every subscriber makes a huge difference to the pod, and we're grateful for everyone. And don't forget to throw us a classy like and comment too to let YouTube know that you're a fan of our stuff. Now back to your regularly scheduled podcasting.
Did you like get to talk to her one-on-one at all, or
Not one-on-one, because
Okay.
I really try to stay behind the scenes, and
Okay.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm there to do my job and
Yeah.
like facilitate. It would look bad if the director of operations is grouping, you know what I
Sure,
mean?
sure.
There's certain opportunities where I can interact and hang
Yeah.
out. And like I said, when the guys that we've had multiple times,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, go down the green room and we'll, hang out, shoot the shit or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, with that, I wanted to just give a little bit of background too on you. So Kristy, as we said, director of club operations at Parq Nightclub, but you're actually originally from Denver, right? Denver, Colorado. But then you grew up in Michigan.
Yeah, I was born in Denver, lived there while I was young, so I'm a diehard Broncos fan.
There we go.
But yeah, I grew up in Michigan,
Okay.
a really small town in Michigan.
And really small town. You
Like-
you mentioned before set, like we were talking about, like is this kind of a small, like close-knit Amish community?
Yeah, so it's called Stanwood, Michigan. It's a population of less than 200. We're the type of community that you go into town. You have to drive like 15 minutes to get to
Yeah.
a grocery store. But I love being from there. Obviously, I outgrew it, but it was a great place to grow up. Horse and buggy, behind the high school.
Yeah.
Standard.
All right. Well, shout out to Stanwood, Michigan. Prior to working at Parq, you're the VIP manager for RMD Group, and then you were also assisting with the opening of Flux Nightclub as the bottle service manager there. You've also done some traveling. You were in Sydney, Australia, which I want to talk to you a little bit about later. But aside from that, you've also been involved in running quite a few festivals. And not just on the West Coast, right? Also, you've done some stuff in Canada, like Toronto.
Yep.
And across the country. And so tell us a little bit about that. Let's start there. Like with the festivals that you're involved in, how did that start? How did you sort of rise to the level of where you're in charge of a festival? And tell us that history.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy because I feel like when COVID happened, a lot of people were able to, despite how tough it was, really start to find a footing in something else or thrive in something, because we're so used to day to day just doing everything that we do every single day.
Yeah.
So it's like I didn't really put a lot of time and energy into passion projects or things that maybe I was more interested in, because I'm like, I want to be really good at my role and I want to do, the best job as director of operations at Parq. And so that was my focus. But when we shut during COVID, it was like, oh, this is so scary, but then these other opportunities started coming my way because I had free time.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't have to focus on, where that is or, my schedule or time off or what it pays or. So instead, I just started saying yes to things. And I was like, okay. So the entertainment director who booked all of our talent at Parq, her name is Khalifa, we had worked together for the 7 years leading up to Parq shutting for COVID, she called me one day and she was like, Kristy, she was like, I kind of have this, opportunity. There's this small group that wants to do a music festival, and they're based out of San Diego, and she lives in Las Vegas. She was like, do you want to talk to the CEO? And I was like, yeah, I'll talk to him, see what he needs. She's like, I think they want help with social media or like, marketing. And I was like, oh, I already do that at Parq. Like, that's fine. So I met with him, talked to him, and after like 2 interviews, they offered me an executive role to be a partner on it. So there was 4 of us. So
they really liked you.
yeah, so it was great. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Sometimes when someone else sees value in you, you're like, oh, I didn't know this because I've been working for the same company
it's like,
for
me?
so long. Yeah, like, oh, okay, me?
Yeah.
But then it's like when I start talking and I'm talking the language, like, yeah, I know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
So
Sometimes it's hard to see that in yourself, though.
It really is. And so we formulated a company, got the kind of players involved, and we did 3 festivals in 2021. Which was one was in Nashville, one was in Austin, and our last one in 2021 was in San Diego. And
what was the name of that one?
So all 3 of those were called Blended. So it was a wine festival, culinary, really diverse music. We had Cascade, we had Bryce Vine, we had Ludacris, Little
names.
John. Yeah, and then in San Diego, our headliner was Chainsmokers.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a really big deal, and
that's
it was we had booked Spanish Landing, which is over by the airport, which everybody uses Wonderfront or Waterfront. And so we brought a festival to an area of town that people hadn't seen. They're not used to doing the same thing, the same footprint. So it was a really cool experience. And that year was really tough, really taxing.
Sure. Yeah, I can imagine. Well, I guess I can't. But
yeah, it was just, you don't realize. And I'll give you an example of like things you don't think through. It was a 2-day festival. So we wrapped in Nashville. And the first day had rained, and we had thunderstorms. The second day was blazing hot. You know what I mean? We were at a ballpark, so we had to put, you had to cover the grass with this like horrible thick kind of like, I don't even know what kind of material it was, but cover the entire infield so we didn't ruin their baseball field. Well,
sounds like a pain in the ass.
Exactly, and no one thought about who's bringing that up.
Oh, no.
So after, 2 days of music festival working,
It's like, wait,
18 hours.
Who's going to do this? Like, who's going to pick that up?
So your girl.
Oh, the whole thing by yourself.
Well, not just me.
Oh, okay.
My family, my auntie, my brothers
jeez.
and sisters, my mom, and all the teams. So it was like your first year, you're like, oh, okay, like we got some growing pains and just little stuff. In Austin, we didn't have a cleaning crew, so we're picking up trash the next day. So it was just like you have to really commit and be like, I'm totally invested in this and I'm bigger than the project. Like if trash has to get picked up, it has to get picked up.
Yeah.
It's not because, I'm executive.
No.
No.
So, yeah.
Get out there. And
That's not a successful mindset either.
Yeah.
To be like, I can't do that. I'm too important.
Yeah. So like I said, we had a great team. We had 22 had some struggles, which I think any first year festival would, but by the second year we should have worked through some things that came from top down that really hurt us.
Now, like at this point in time, like do you feel like the process is very well established, like going into the future, like for other festivals, and I want to talk about some of the other ones, but like some of the other festivals that you're going to be like putting on in the future with, what's the company name again? It's
Blackout Live.
Blackout Live. So with Blackout Live, like, do you feel like now, like obviously there's growing pains, but now is the process down to the point where like you, like sure things can obviously always go wrong, but like you kind of know what has to be done every time.
Absolutely, and just even just little things as checklists of going into the day. You know what I mean? We made those up as we went because stuff started popping up. But now we have things really dialed in, and like you said, stuff's going to still arise at any event, but we definitely have it. On lockdown as far as what to expect and how to prepare for some of these hurdles that we had come up against.
Now we know if you do something in Nashville, like the weather's just like totally a wild card. I mean,
So
I feel like
anybody,
weather's just weird there.
anyone that is so in 2022 we went back to Nashville after it was our most unsuccessful market.
Like we're running this back.
And it poured rain, lightning. We had to shut down the entire thing because of the state mandates, with lightning being within 5 miles.
Yikes.
Get weather insurance. That's my advice to anybody. Get weather insurance.
That's a thing for festivals?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we didn't have it, and we lesson learned.
Okay, interesting. So what about some of the other ones? So like you talked to me a little bit before we started recording about like Splash House and Portola.
Yeah.
pure imagination. Let's run through that. Like, what are like what's the work and preparation that goes into something like that?
So what's really nice about those things is I personally don't plan them. So what I do is I get contracted out through Blackout Live to help coordinate, and mainly I focus on VIP experience because all of my years of club experience, that's an avenue that not everybody has a specialty in. Of like, there's the customer clientele that wants VIP is very different than your party goer that's, you know what I mean, just going to a festival.
Sure.
So what I really try to do is cater that experience within the festival of like, how do you elevate it? How do you make things personalized? How do you create systems that, you know, your top clientele are going to have an exceptional experience without, you know, kind of hurting that whole festival vibe of like,
Sure.
we're all together. It's like, yes, we're all together, but there is a clientele that's like, yes, but I want to be VIP and I want bottles and I want hot girls that are serving me. And so for all of those festivals, that's why, that's how I get brought in.
What like have you found is like the successful approach to like curating that experience, like making it unique for a VIP client?
So the main thing that I focus on is operations, because if any of the guests are waiting outside, if they don't have escorts to their table, if they have any issues getting in. So from the first thing is I want to know from start to finish, where's the VIP coming in? What's the route that they're getting to their table? Once they get there, you know what I mean? What's our processing fee or processing system? Where are the bottles coming? How long is it going to take? So basically, my brain is very logical of how I think about it. And once I have that dialed, then I'm like, okay, where's this customer coming from? What are they a fan of? Talk to the host, like really understand like where we can try to connect on a personal level.
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of personalize the experience then a bit.
Exactly.
And I feel like, I mean, I've been at Parq and I feel like I definitely like feel that like energy there, that it's like very like intentional with like the approach to the VIP clientele, but not necessarily like everywhere. But now for the other festivals that you do, so you did one in Toronto, right? When was that?
Yeah, so that was when we had kind of wrapped the situation with Blended. My the girl Kalika that had introduced me to the whole project, her and I, you know, we had been kind of burned on the situation, and you know, we took some time away. We both needed some time to decompress because it was just like all of our heart and soul had got into these 4 festivals, and it had imploded. So she had called me in January of last year, and she was like, "Hey, I've been thinking." She was like, "Are you ready to do this again?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was just like, "I want to work with just you." She was like, "I want to partner and you and I do our own thing. And we create our own company and we're not answering to, you know, investors and these people or whatever." So, you know, we launched our own company. It was actually 1 year yesterday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Called Blackout Live. So it's talent buying, production, festival, an array of kind of a la carte services. And within, I want to say 2 weeks of us launching that, we got our first customer, which was Nelly.
All right.
Yeah,
that's a good one, right? I mean, this seems like a
Exactly.
pretty big first
Yeah,
customer.
so we were both just like, okay, you know, let's do this.
Yeah.
And so basically, we were on Nelly's team, and we had a promoter partner in Toronto. So he was kind of boots on the ground for structure, for you know, as far as staging and creating the culinary experience and all of that. And we did all of the production side. So as far as like the artist management, you know, anything that had to do with all of the travel and anything, we curated Artist Village and did, you know, that was our main focus. Obviously, we had input on everything else, but that was mainly what her and I did. And it was, you know, Nelly as the headliner. It was called Hot in Here, you know, where they had T.I., Akon, Ja Rule,
So
Fat
fun.
Joe.
This was in San Diego?
Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah, so that had its own challenges because obviously it was international.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, you know, kind of, you know,
Are
our
festivals
hands were
just done
tied.
really differently there, or
It's not so much different. It was just because us and all the artists were American. There was a lot of just money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just the wage. And they'll be
Sure.
like, oh, okay, hey, this is going to be $50,000. And we'd be like, okay, was that Canadian? Because that's, you know what I
Canadian
mean?
currency. I feel like a dumbass for knowing this.
I think the Canadian currency is a little bit like monopoly money, isn't it? Isn't
It
that
is.
What's
isn't
like
that
the name of it? Is it like
It's just the
not
Canadian
shillings,
dollar.
Isn't that-
That's just the
It's just Canadian
dollar.
dollar.
Toonies and loonies or something like that? Hey, real quick while I'm in, I want to propose something real quick, a rule here. Every time Steve says festival, you guys have to take a sip of the 151 flaming drink.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's on our list too. The other thing I wanted to say was I'd love to get your take on the fact that they're going to have another Fire Festival. And since you're probably plugged into that community and everything went wrong with it the first time, I'd love to hear what your thoughts on that are.
Oh my gosh, I can tie that in perfectly. So one of our acts in Toronto was Ja Rule. And I love Ja Rule. He's been at Parq many times, you know.
That's great.
But prior to our festival, which was in June of 2023, the last time he had been booked, he was in Toronto with the same promoter and didn't show up. So obviously, the whole time, we're announce our lineup, everything's going great, you know, but Ja Rule is booked in a festival after ours on the same day in Texas. So the whole time we're getting all this feedback of like, you know, everybody's on the Facebook, Instagrams, like, Ja Rule's not coming, this is Fire Fest, and we're just like, wait, what? You know, so then we finally get the Toronto or the Texas date pulled off the calendar.
Yeah.
And, you know, so we're fighting that kind of stigma because it's a first-year festival in Toronto, you know, and it's got Ja Rule and he didn't show up. So obviously all of our marketing is tailored to that. And we're there the day before, right?
Yeah.
Day before festival, we're there. It's pouring rain. We've got, again, the rain.
Yeah.
Get weather insurance. And
Rain is like your worst enemy.
so Kalika and I are on a group, you know, chat with Ja Rule's manager. And they're like, he's at customs. And we're like, wait, what? You know what I mean? So long story short, not looking good because there's something on his record. And in order to get into the other country, that you had to have certain paperwork and all this stuff. So I get a text that's like, Kristy, I need you to go to customs at the airport in Toronto and get Ja Rule. And I'm like, me? What am I going to do with customs at the border?
What are you going to do, like strong arm them?
Yeah,
like,
so obviously I get all of our paperwork that he's performing and everything, and I hightail it in the you know, we have like drivers and stuff, hightail it to the airport, and then the manager calls me, he's like, we got through, and I was like, thank goodness.
Thanks.
What was I gonna do? But I was ready to take on the Canadian government for Ja Rule, you know, whatever it takes.
That's a good story.
Did you subscribe yet? If you like our content, it's the easiest way to support the pod. Hit the subscribe button on the bottom right and keep it classy.
So yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Fire, I mean, like, do you have any thoughts about like sort of you know, like what, you know, obviously some stuff didn't work out, but like moving forward, like what's like sort of the insiders, like from running your festivals yourselves, like what's sort of the insiders' perspective on like sort of the evolution?
Yeah, I mean, the marketing was on point. Obviously, no one can fight that. As far as not understanding the infrastructure of what it takes was clearly, you know, where things went wrong, but not caring. You know what I mean? You know well in advance. There were things that we knew that rain was coming. You know what I mean? When we were in Nashville in 2022, we watched it. We were on 3 days of calls. It's coming. We were, you know, multiple reports, all this stuff. So it was this, like, we had a decision to make of, like, are we going to go through it or not? Same thing. They knew if they didn't have housing. They knew if they didn't have food delivered. We're all on tracking. How many emails and phone calls around? So the fact that they still let people travel there is where I'm just like, look, if it fell through, it fell through. It's going to fall through regardless, but don't hurt the people.
Yeah, otherwise it's just a bad look.
The whole point of us being in event planning is to create a great experience.
Yeah.
So if you don't care about that, to me, it's like you're in the wrong business.
Was it last year that Burning Man had some kind of similar difficulties?
Yeah,
or?
same with the weather and people got stuck out there. I watched a video of like Diplo hitchhiking.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I've actually never been to Burning Man. I have a brother that goes there all the time, almost every year. But the vibe I got was that, was it more of like, again, like the planners just like not anticipating stuff correctly, or was it just sort of bad luck?
I mean, I don't
you
personally know, so I don't want to comment too much. I think it was bad luck.
Okay.
You know what I mean? As far as, but I know when you're creating a festival that's in the middle of nowhere, like let's have some contingency plans.
Yeah, shit happens. Now, I wanted to ask you, so like you mentioned like early on when you were like running the festivals, when you were first getting started, when you started Blackout.
Oh, wait, do we have to do that? Oh, I heard it.
Yeah. All right, take a sip.
That's what I'm talking about.
But like, you mentioned that early on, you know, stuff goes wrong. You know, the weather came up. I think you said like the first few festivals just, you know, were not successes. I'm sure there's a point in your mind where you're like thinking about like, man, like, should I like mail this in? Should I keep going? Should I keep doing this business? What kind of like kept you going to the point where when your business partner came to you and was like, hey, like let's run it back, like you were down to do that, you were like ready to go again, move forward with Blackout Live. Like, what was it in you that, like, sort of intangibly that, like, sort of kept you going and, like, kept your momentum going in the industry?
I think it's just I love what I do.
Yeah.
I absolutely love what I do. And whether that's being at Parq or the festival or I do corporate events or pretty much anything, I'm so driven by the outcome. So I am not driven by, meeting celebrities. I'm not driven by, like, oh, like, this is what we can pay you. And I'm not driven by, like, the coolness factor. I am so driven by standing back, looking at whatever we've created and seeing like, oh, this joy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That people are so excited.
Yeah.
And we, although they weren't financially successful, the festivals were an experience. And when we were in San Diego and my whole family was there and all my friends and, all my coworkers and people I've known for years were coming up to me and being like, this is the best, and I'm standing there like just behind the curtain on stage and chain smokers, they've got fire, going up in the sky and there's 10,000 people in San Diego doing what we built.
Yeah.
That's what kept me going. I'm like,
makes it all worth
just
it.
because the CEO, screwed us over, doesn't mean what we built wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
So and the people that we, had on our team, everybody kind of lost on that deal. And that's where I'm like, okay, so Blackout Live, like any of those partners that we've, made throughout the 2 years we were doing Blended, they're with us. If it's like, okay, hey, this, like I said, it's kind of a la carte. So if there's a company that's looking to do an event and they want to do wine, you know what I mean? We have an amazing sommelier, it's called Matthew Lauren. And anything that we need, what we need a sommelier, we bring him with us, So it's just like we took all the good parts and created our company, and we're based out of, honesty and like integrity.
And I feel like for you, this isn't about like checking the boxes. This is about like a very intentional, customer-oriented experience, very personalized. Like you want everybody to feel like they're a part of this thing.
Exactly.
Now, I did want to ask you. You mentioned something that we were talking about again before, Seb, but that you obviously weren't super stoked on, which was the situation where the CEO of the other company you were at essentially dipped, like left you guys, didn't really say anything at all, left you guys with all the unpaid bills and everything. And when was that again? That was in
would have been after we wrapped the Nashville
COVID.
2022.
Or was
No,
after
this was
COVID?
after.
Okay.
So we had done the 3 in 2021.
Yeah.
We had revamped, came into 2022. We did the Nashville Blended again, so that was our 4th event underneath that umbrella, and which got rained out, lightninged out. You know what I mean? And it was unfortunate on a lot of unlucky situation.
Yeah.
But instead of kind of forging through and figuring out solutions, the CEO bounced. He literally just one day, our website was down, our emails were down, no communication. He absolutely left us, burned all of our relationships, left us all unpaid, thousands and thousands.
Like literally disappeared.
People are obviously going after him. I hope they get him.
Yeah. Man's on the run.
But yeah, I've heard that he's popped up here and there in San Diego. But it was devastating. Like so much heart and soul. And like I said, I would be the first one to be like, in Nashville, I was like, oh, we need a Home Depot run. Because it's like, oh, we need sandbags because it was going to rain. We need this, zip ties, whatever. I'm like, here, just take my card. Like, I'll figure it out. Because I'm like, the bigger picture. Whatever we need to do to get this festival going, let's do it.
Yeah.
And all of those things were just, I had to eat it.
So what was the guy's name?
Sean Evans.
Sean Evans. Okay.
Shout out to Sean Evans.
Put out a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
What a douche. But seriously though, I mean, like when that happened, like obviously, like you seem like a very like positive person. It seems like you found a way to take that experience, take like, okay, we got screwed over. This happened. This guy left us with all these unpaid bills. Just screwed over the company. Burn these bridges with the performers. But you found a way to somehow put a positive spin on that in the end.
Yeah,
Like, how did that happen?
I had to really take some time away. Like
Yeah.
I'm talking like I don't want to answer my phone. Like I off social media. I really internalized because I was so hurt that somebody could take advantage. It wasn't the financial thing, but it was like he took advantage of my time, advantage of my relationships.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, I'm introducing you to this person or this person. You know what I mean? 'Cause to make this thing successful. So once Kalika called me and she was just like, hey, let's do this together.
Yeah.
You know, I was just like, you know what? I'm so proud of all the work we did. I'm so proud of what we accomplished that I'm not going to let him take it.
Yeah, I can't let him take that away
No
from
way. You can't. Like, he doesn't own that.
No.
You know what I mean? He stood behind a computer and, like, told us this and tried to raise money. He wasn't there picking up trash. That's all I'm going to say. He wasn't there,
it
you know
wasn't
what I
that
mean?
kinda
It wasn't that
leader.
kind of leader.
Yeah.
So, you know, and literally, like I said, all of a sudden we took the leap, we made our own company, we launched it, and then we got, you know, Nelly in Toronto.
Yeah.
So, and that festival was successful on year one, which is unheard of. 15,000 people profitable.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what came after that?
So we are working on a 2024 date. Nelly ended up going on tour with Janet Jackson.
Okay.
So we're officially postponed because we have to work through whatever his schedule is going to look like. But we absolutely plan to return to Toronto.
In 2024?
Yeah. Oh, well, that's a goal.
Hopefully. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I did want to ask you, like, so we've talked about the festivals a bit. Oh, damn it.
Cheers.
There we go. But as far as, like, Parq itself, I mean, you talked a little bit about having an intentional, you know, customer-oriented experience. What do you feel like, again, it's different for me because, you know, I've been to the Parq, you know, I've seen how things run there, and I even know people that work there, but it's like, what do you feel like is different about, like, sort of the culture and, like, vibe that you kind of curate there, like, in terms of the experience, you know, the VIP experience, like, customer experience, like, general admission experience, and just, like, the attitude among employees and staff even, like, the sort of the way that you lead these people, like, what's different about that?
So I am going on my 10th year at Parq. So Parq opened in 2014, so we'll do our 10-year anniversary this fall. Yeah. And what I can say sets us apart from everybody is our ownership. So we are owned by a husband and wife. It is, when people say, oh, it's a family atmosphere. No, it absolutely is. We don't have these big Vegas ties or these, you know, huge DJ, you know, conglomerates like some of these other, you know, venues of our size do. We are husband and wife owned. So when it comes to, if there's an issue, guess what? I'm on the phone. I mean, I talk to my owner and his wife 10 times a day. So we are absolutely, like, tied at the hip. They trust me implicitly. So
Yeah.
I will make whatever decision is best for them. I've known their kids since one of them was 2 and he's like 10 or 12 now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, when we say it's family, like, they're my family. I don't have a lot of family in San Diego. I have one cousin. Other than that, like, they are my family.
Yeah.
So when you're looking out for your staff like they're your family, you feel it. The customer feels it different. When I walk in to go to work, I don't go to the office and start pointing and, like, start saying, you have to do this, you have to do this. I go right into the club, talk to all my support staff, hugs, you know what I mean? I'm very, like, how are your kids? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It's about the relationships.
Exactly. You know, I had to have, like, kind of a strict meeting with my cocktail waitresses on Saturday because I was like, you know, you got to step up. You got to be better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Never an easy conversation to have.
never.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm really close with a lot of them outside of work, and we hang out and we watch each other's dogs and stuff. But when it comes time to me being the boss, I have to be.
Yeah.
And you know
Gotta
what I
put in
mean?
the work.
And that could have been a really tense night. You know, we had Bia performing. We were sold out. It was crazy. End of the night, the girls come in, like, will you go to tacos with us? And they waited for me to close out the whole venue and waited for me to take me to tacos and then sent me these messages like, we're going to do better. Like, we love you. Like, thank you for pointing this stuff out. Like, that to me shows that they respect me, but they know I respect them, and I know that they can be better. And I want to strive. Whether it's just cocktail waitressing or bartending or, you know what I mean? It's still hold your staff to an accountability and do it in a respectful way. Nobody gets mad.
You set the standard. Like,
Yeah.
you say, like, hey, like, this is how hard I want you to work, but this is, like, how hard I'm working. This is, like, I'm taking the initiative. And that's how you demonstrate. That's how you curate a successful atmosphere.
Yeah. And,
That's
and-
what good leadership looks like. And look, you can have a terrible job, but if you're working for somebody that cares and that's good to you and then, you know, sets the example, leads by example, it can make that terrible job seem not so bad.
Exactly.
On the flip side, I've had some great jobs working for some awful people, and it was the worst experience I ever had.
Yeah. And-
both can be true.
Yeah, and that's what I said, is they set that up for me.
Yeah.
So they lead me by example, and they, you know what I mean? They love me, and they treat me with such respect. And it was such a different transition from when I was managing at, some of the other venues in San Diego, where it was like, oh yeah, you're a manager, but you're also in the tip pool. Yeah. So your wages are, dependent on tips. No, I got the director of operations role, and they were like, we value what you have to say. We value your experience. We value what you bring to our business. And that's how we started. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? It created a foundation of like, I knew that they respected me, and now I'm gonna work so hard for you. You know what I mean? Even when I was doing all this,
you're motivated to do so.
Yeah, and I was already had taken this festival job. Yeah. And it was full time, or if not more. When Parq reopened after COVID, I sat down with them. I said, look, my bandwidth has changed a little bit, but I am here for you. I will do anything to make sure Parq reopens successfully, and I'm still there. Regardless of all my other projects. I'm like, that's my home. Yeah. That is like my passion, my home. I love that I experience everything else, because I think it brings, like a different look to the venue, because I've been to other cities, and I've seen other clubs, and I have a different perspective. Sure. But that's home base.
Now, I did want to ask you, since it was last week, right? Bia came on, and unfortunately I missed it because I was being stupid and doing dry January. But I did want to ask you, like, what was that experience like? How did that go? I mean, you probably met her at some point. Like, what was the process like there?
Yeah, so this was the second time we've had Bia. So the first time we had her was really good. It was a night that was, better than average, but not like, it's not a 50-cent night or by any means. Sure. And, my owner reached out. Like I said, we're in constant communication. He's like, hey, I got to offer Bia again. What should we do? And, I'm very logical in the way my brain thinks like this. So I'm like, let me pull the numbers. Let me see what the sales were. Let me see what tickets were, And I was like, you know what? Honestly, I was like, I think let's do it, And he was like, all right. So we got it. This time, I don't know what happened with her, but man, did she skyrocket. The place was absolutely packed. Like sold out, VIP, just bottles going everywhere, and then she was incredible. Jumped down from the stage, like interacting with people's phones. She was about it. Yeah. So she was really, really great, really gracious. I run the marketing, so our videographer and photographer was there, and some of them are not open to having their photos, and they, obviously from afar or whatever. Sure. She full on did a photo shoot with him, and he came up to me and was like, great. Bia is gorgeous. He was like, she was so cool. Yeah. And then she tagged us, and you know what I mean? So it was just like, some of those artists are just so understanding of the system and the value of like these nightclub, performances really do help elevate you. Yeah. And it's so it's so intimate.
Yeah. Well, it seems like she's kind of like, while she's a performer, she's also like realizes that, she's wants to curate these relationships, and she wants to connect with her fans, and that's important to her, while like performing and making it is also like equally important.
She was great, so I definitely recommend her.
Do you later this month, we're in February now, it's crazy, but it is February 1st today. Later this month, you mentioned somebody else coming on. Do you want to talk about that?
So we just announced yesterday that we're going to bring back Wiz Khalifa. So that's going to be on February 24th. That'll be another sold-out show, crazy. He's an amazing performer. So many hits. Yeah. So we're really looking forward to that. We had him in July of 2022. So it'll be, a year and a half solid since, and he doesn't do a lot of club stuff. So again, we after, almost 10 years in the business, we've created these relationships where a lot of artists that might not do club shows will, because they know it's professional. They know they're going to come in. We're going to be secure. We're going to have a great crowd. We're going to make sure that there's no issues. Your rider's ready. Yeah. Your pickup from the sprinter to going through our executive entrance, all that stuff. We're so dialed in that the artists are always like, and their managers be like, Parq,
it's just like the reputation, like, because I feel like for you, it's like, not just that, again, not just going through the motions and collecting the paychecks, but it's about like, the performers also having that experience. We're talking the customer experience, also like the performer's experience. Exactly. And maintaining those relationships. That's something you take pride in.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey there, classy viewers. Thanks for listening to our podcast. We're dedicated to providing you with quality content that inspires and brightens your day. But keeping it classy can be expensive. If you enjoy our content, we're asking for your support for the podcast using the donation link in the description below. Donations mean the world to us, and even as little as $5 can make a huge difference in helping us make this podcast a reality. Plus, donors are added to our shortlist to be the first to receive exclusive offers on merch, extra content, and even chances to appear on the pod. Anything you can give would truly be appreciated. Now get back to enjoying the rest of the podcast, and as always, stay classy.
It's interesting, like Wiz Khalifa, who actually we were talking about earlier, like, you know, I actually saw him perform when I was in college. And like first of all, like huge Wiz Khalifa fan. I mean, I was probably 12 or 13 bumping Black and Yellow. And like, I'm trying to remember some of my other favorite kids. Yeah. But it was funny because I remember he was in, so this was when I was at UCLA, and it was junior year. And there was a fraternity that was hosting him at a nearby venue near the school. And he came in the last like 20 minutes and sang like 2 songs, smoked a joint, and then dipped. I mean, is that pretty common, like, and expected in like the entertainment, like nightlife industry? Or is that like considered just like a big no-no?
Well, so we have to understand is that like these bigger artists, they sell out full concerts, full arenas, festivals, all that stuff. So a club performance is definitely a little more, the expectation is not to do a full show. You know what I mean? It's called like a track act.
Okay.
And we know that it's going to be, 3 to 5 songs.
Yeah.
But our customer base is from, me to you sometimes with that guest for paying a $20 ticket or a VIP client. You know what I mean? Our tables are right here and the artist is performing right there. So,
like, hey.
yeah, right. And you know what I mean? And they'll get right in their face and,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Sure. Do all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we have to train our customer and we've done that. So it's definitely, it's a different experience. It's not a concert. It's an appearance or performance. So we want the night to have that as an added. But when you get there at 10, our DJs are going, the lights are going, confetti's blasting, dancers are...
Yeah.
So the experience is about the club night. And then it's like, and then we're going to put, a cherry on top.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like I saw Migos in 2018 at the Whiskey A Go-Go in Hollywood. Just a tiny, tiny little club, barely even a club, just like a baby little venue where like punk shows play. And like... they were an hour late, but it was a free show, so we
you can't complain.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean,
at the height of their success too. So
Yeah, so I mean, you can go to a concert, you know what I mean, and then you stand around for like the first hour because there's no music at House of Blues, and then it's like you don't want to leave because there's nothing to do. You can go buy a drink or whatever, but then you're gonna lose. And when you get a club show, it's like, you know what, go have a great night with your girlfriends, your guy friends. Enjoy the club because that's so fun.
Yeah.
And then it's like, 1 o'clock, like, Future's on. You know what I mean? And Vegas does the same thing. You know, and it's we all kind of do, that same, formula. But it's definitely different than, I can imagine you were bummed.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't I think I just turned 21, or I don't know if you know I was 21. But somehow I was in there, and I hadn't really been in that kind of a situation before. So I think it was like, I was expecting, because I had gone to I think I'd gone to a Kendrick Lamar concert a couple years earlier. So the concert experience, as you said, is like very different.
Yeah.
The expectations are a lot different, obviously. So I think I didn't know what to expect in the sort of more club environment. But that being said, I mean, I feel like, as you said, like some of them though do really take it to heart. They still take it seriously. They're very intentional. I mean, you talk about like 50 Cent and like Cardi B. And,
like 50 Cent, I'm like, I want to say did 25, 30 minutes, like almost every time he's come. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like he just knows what to give the people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it helps when you have the catalog.
Sure.
So there's some of these other artists that are, you know what I mean, might not have as many hits where everybody's like vibing and singing every song to. I think 2 weeks ago we had 310 Baby, who has a really, hot song right now. But I don't know if he did 4 or 5 songs, if anybody would know other ones. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like there's kind of those, this is a hot track right now, and do that song and maybe like, entertain the crowd. But then these artists, like, and again, Nelly's one of the other ones that put that guy on and he will entertain as long as he's got the mic.
Yeah. I was curious, do the artists like have complete discretion? It's like, okay, hey, I'm gonna play like these songs and like that's it? Or do you guys say like, hey, like 50 Cent, like we went here into club, like
He won't do it.
He won't do it?
No, that's
He
the
won't
only
play
one
that
who won't
song?
do it. He won't do it.
Like, is he just like burnt out or what?
Yeah.
Okay, he's just like,
I don't
do
know.
it.
But yeah, depending on the relationship, we'll have a DJ that knows. A lot of times they bring their own DJ, so they'll be synced up. Or we'll have a DJ that we have worked with before. That's like, hey, you know what I mean? He's gonna vibe to these like 3-4 songs, and then we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah. Now, also like having been not just like on the West Coast, but having like run festivals like across the country, even Toronto. Like I'm sure you've got a sense of like nightlife culture in different places.
Drink.
Damn it. All right. Stop saying festival.
That's 2.
I know, I did a little double. But have you gotten a sense over time of like San Diego compared to other places with nightlife? Like what makes like San Diego nightlife unique and different? Like what about like nightlife here, like especially like post-COVID, has like changed? And like what's like sort of the adjustment that you make from the insider's perspective?
I think for San Diego, we rely a lot on regulars. You know, yes, tourism is huge in San Diego, of course, and that really fell off and it's just starting to pick back up now.
Okay.
But a lot of our clientele is regulars. So what I always try to coach our staff up on, from, you know, security at the front to, you know, the VIP hosts to the waitresses to the, you know, support staff, is like learn names, learn faces, like say what's up, like, you know what I mean? And it's like, so the more you create that small town cheers vibe in the club, people are so much more regular or more apt to become regulars.
Yes.
And that's what's our bread and butter. It's like, you know, we go on these nights next Saturday we have OGZ, which is going to be the very similar clientele as Bia.
Yeah.
We're going to see, you know, 40 to 50% of those same customers at that next show because it's a good experience. And so I really think San Diego, and, you know, I'm obviously biased to Parq, is that we create a culture of like, you know, understand your regulars and create an environment where they feel really comfortable, confident. It's not like, oh, I spent $1,000 on bottle service last night. It's like, oh my gosh, I had the best time with Brittany.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where you know, draw the line of like, oh, they really want to come back, they're going to be a regular, or it's like, oh, that bill was crazy.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, like, as I said, like, you know, having been there quite a few times myself, like, love all the employees there. They're all like very like intentional about like, you know, like looking in the eye, like saying hi, like, you know, like being nice, like just there's a level like personableness that you don't get everywhere. So I will say like I have noticed that. But also like after COVID, before COVID and then after COVID. So obviously like nightlife changed, you know, things were on hold for a few years, but do you feel like things are approaching like where they were pre-COVID business levels, or do you like anticipate that happening, or do you feel like things are just like nightlife in general is like irreversibly like altered?
No, honestly, for the first 2 years after we reopened, our numbers were better. Like we were busier. People had been cooped up so much
They're just, like,
inside
ready
for
to
so
party.
long that that it was like, give me an experience. Let me
Yeah.
have some sort of stimulation.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of starting to level off. We're about right before we were before COVID, because there's so much going on now. Everybody's kind of realizing, oh, it's experiential based right now. Like that's what everybody wants, you know? So one thing that has really changed is the competitiveness in the talent booking.
Okay.
You know, we've had these other venues open up that have, you know what I mean, like Insomniac, or, you know, the LED Presents, or, you know, a lot of these like big, massive, you know, festival companies are going into venues and booking, you know, their DJs and stuff like that. So us being, you know, we're, you know, family owned.
Yep.
You know, so we have to go up against those big boys, you know?
Yeah. That's
And which we do, and we go,
competition.
but it definitely is like, who do you have? Like, who's DJing? What artists do you have? And it's just like, I want to get back to like when I was a cocktail waitress, and it was more about like who's there. You know what I
Sure.
mean? I don't even know who the DJs were when I was a waitress, but
Yeah.
it was just like, you know, the highest end, like the best looking people. Like it's not so much of like, oh, who's performing. Was more of like, who's going to be there. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you know, that hot girl from, you know, gym or whatever. I mean, there's still that.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
club,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that was the focus of like, it was really hard to get in. There was no like, get on my guest list. You know, when I was a waitress, it was like, you're allowed 5 people on your list.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh God, who am I going to choose?
Right.
And now it's everybody's like, get on my list, get on my list, get on my list. So it's just, the
Yeah,
dynamic
promoters
has
right and left.
changed.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I did want to ask you, like, as far as that dynamic goes, where you have like, you know, different like promotion companies that you're working with, and like different talent agencies and stuff. Like, is there how do you like handle that like level of competition, that like level of like, you know, we have to like choose this or this and like all these choices?
I mean, again, I think it goes back to the relationships that we've built over time. We have a lot of trusted people that we know will perform. You know, Josh Hoffman from Legendary.
Shout out to Josh. He's been on the pod. Yeah, we love him.
And Matt Gerald from Night Access. Those are our, you know, two go-tos that are just proven in and out to be trustworthy, to be reliable, to work professionally. You know, this industry, you get a lot of people that are there for the party.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's fun for a little while, but then you fall off. You know what I mean?
You gotta put in the work.
Exactly. And you know what I mean? We set the expectations of like, this is what I expect.
Sure.
And if you're not performing, then we're going to sit down, we're going to talk about it, we're going to either get better or we can't use you.
Move on,
Yeah. So it's not like, oh, you're my friend. Yes, we've been friends for a long time. But if you're promoting for us, where's your results?
This has got to work.
Yeah, where's your results? And then, you know what I mean? I'm still going to like kick it with you at, you know what I mean? Like barley mash or something.
Sure. Shout out to Barley Mash.
Yeah.
Now, we only have a few minutes left. I wanted to ask you, like, you know, we started out by talking about the Nicki Minaj story, which was really funny, but do you have, like, any other, in closing, like, stories about performers, either festivals or at Parq? But, yeah, like, maybe I'm thinking about, like, you know, just a performance that really stood out to you that was very, and I know you talked about 50 Cent, Cardi B, but like a performance that just like the performance itself was just like a joy to witness and experience, and like sort of the as you talked about like the end product coming together really well to like sort of a positive.
So one of the most memorable like performances that like really struck me at Parq was actually an EDM artist, which was KYGO. And
love KYGO.
And I'm like not that cool. Like, you know what I mean? I listen to the just very like indie rock and like singer-songwriter and stuff. So to me, when we booked him, I was just like, oh, okay, you know, let me look it up. You know what I mean? And I saw the price of what we were paying and I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
I'm like, how are we going to get that? And then I watched him perform and the crowd interaction and the way that he curated his music and his night and how he like elicited emotion literally from more so than I've ever seen another DJ do. And like I said, that's not even like my kind of genre of music that I'm really into, but he was hands down probably the best, like overall, like energy, vibe, like technically sound DJ that I've seen at Parq.
Yeah, no, KYGO is phenomenal. I could spend like 5 minutes here naming all my favorite songs, but I will say that I can only imagine what that was like. Is he still like touring? Is he still?
I'm actually not sure. We had him that one time, and the price tag was outrageous. I think we broke even, and we were slammed like
you pay
literally.
A premium for that kind of talent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, but there's sometimes those shows that's a good business sense. You know, we do it for our brand, we do it for our customers, and it's not always about making money. Yeah. You know what I mean? We want to give good.
About, like,
good product. Yeah, of like, hey, like come experience this, and you know, what I mean, not every night is gonna be we book a talent because it's gonna be this, you know, hugely profitable thing. Yeah. We look at it of like, hey, is this something we want to give to our guest? And the answer, you know, obviously we're in business to make money, but more often than people would really think, it's about like, okay, how can we make this successful enough to give our customers a good experience?
Well, I feel like especially in the industry you're in, but also in a lot of industries, like, yes, of course, you got to make money, you know, it's about the margins, but also like there's more to it than that, because it's not just about the plus or minus for that particular event or that particular show.
It's overall.
But it's like the overall trajectory of the experience, the reputation that you're curating, the vibe that you're going for. You know, the way that people like talk about and engage with your organization is going to be different because, you know, maybe you did put a lot of time and resources into a high quality performer like KYGO.
Yeah, and we want, you know, to stay relevant. We want to be, you know what I mean, give people what they want, and we've never been, oh, we're the hip hop club, or you know, we have YG, we have 50 Cent, we have, you know, Wiz Khalifa, but we also have had Stevie Aoki, we've had KYGO, we've had, you know what I mean, a bunch of these big name EDM acts too. So we've never looked at it of like, we're a hip hop club, we're an EDM club. Yep. We're a nightclub to give really, really good times. you know what I mean? And that's it.
They're on a party.
Yeah.
And one last thing, can you guys please invite Tyga back on?
Yeah.
I really.
I can't believe you missed him.
I can't believe it. I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
But the crew here is sick of me talking about Tyga. But
Okay,
I
all
will
right.
say
I'll
that
put a good word in.
I was actually supposed to see him last year in Orange County. I can't remember what he was doing, and then I was hungover.
Yeah.
Missed it. So that's my bad. But Tyga, if you're listening, come to Parq. But anyways, in closing, I actually did want to give you a quick chance to so later this month, Wiz Khalifa is coming on. Is that like a ticketed event? How can people get in for
it
that?
is a ticketed event.
Okay.
So
It's
our
the website?
tickets are on the website parqsd.com.
Okay.
We have bottle service available, VIP at ParqSD. And yeah, it's gonna be a great time.
And festivals coming up this year for Blackout Live. Oh my god.
Drink.
Festivals. That's another double there. Anything in particular that people keep an eye on? I know you said some things are sort of on pause right now, but any events coming up this year that we can plan for that we can sort of anticipate from Blackout Live?
So I have a call actually after this with a festival we're working with in Wichita, Kansas. So that one's still evolving. I am doing a festival next Saturday, which is on February 10th in St. Louis. Again, I'll be running the VIP like I've done with Splash House. And other than that, it's January, February, March is when we start really planning. So everything will be announced a little bit later, late spring.
All right. And if people want to stay in the loop on what's going on with Blackout Live, do you guys have a website or social?
We have social media is Blackout Live Official.
Blackout Live Official. All right.
Blackout Live Official.
Kristy Rumsey, everyone, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's
Thank
been
you
an
for having
absolute
me.
pleasure. Let's do it again sometime. And let me know about Tyga.
I got you. We'll see you at Parq soon.
All right, yeah, you will. All right, thanks, guys. That's a wrap. This has been another recorded episode of Stay Classy Podcast with your host, Steve Wire. Thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, you can find all of our content at our website at stayclassypod.com. And thanks to our production sponsor and partner, MaxLux Media. You can find them at maxluxmedia.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Every subscription helps and goes a long way towards ensuring that we can continue to produce content for viewers like yourself. Thanks so much. Stay classy.